Hey everybody, welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/NoDQCW. I'm here to answer your questions about WWE and TNA, so let's get right down to it. This is from BCrew16. Hey Aaron, what are your thoughts on top talent reportedly yelling at Vince McMahon and saying he's losing his creative control? I think it's a good thing. I think that somebody really needs to step up and tell Vince that the product is not as good as it could be. I think that unfortunately there's a lot of guys in WWE that are afraid to stand up to Vince McMahon. He's the boss. He's very intimidating. And you really need somebody at that top level who will be willing to stand up to Vince and tell him, hey, look, changes need to be made. So props to whoever did it. At this point, it's not really known who said this to Vince, but it really did light a fire under his ass. And this week's Raw was a much better show than usual, and you could tell that they were really trying to bounce back. And I think Vince is finally starting to realize that something needs to be done because the ratings are dropping, and it's not just football. There's only so many excuses you can make before you realize that it's the product that you have to change, and you have to step things up. So that's what WWE's doing. We'll see if the momentum continues over the next several weeks and months leading into WrestleMania. I mean, once they get to the Royal Rumble, things just kick into high gear normally. But between now and the Rumble, they really need to start focusing on what direction they're going in, and you know, getting the ratings up and just presenting a better product overall. Hey Aaron, I saw that Vince McMahon was on this past Raw, and there were over 600,000 more viewers. In your opinion, why does Vince McMahon make such a difference? First of all, everybody knows that Vince McMahon is the boss, so when he comes out, you know something big is going to happen. People also know how great of a performer Vince McMahon is. When Vince comes out, you know you're going to get a good show. There's no BS. And I was actually surprised Vince did as much as he did, because I wasn't expecting Vince to actually get involved in a match, but that really shows you that Vince is determined to turn things around. And if Vince is willing to go out there, and at his age, he's well into his 60s now, he's out there in a match with CM Punk, he's really setting an example. He's going out there and he's willing to put his body on the line at his age to try to boost up the ratings and try to generate more interest in the product. So that really shows you how hard of a worker Vince McMahon is and how far he's willing to go to make the product work. And I think people respect Vince for that, and when he does appear on Raw, they know they're in for something special. Hey Aaron, in your opinion, since CM Punk is the WWE champ, is he the person to blame for Raw's low ratings? It doesn't really matter a whole lot who WWE champion is. It doesn't make a big difference one way or the other, but I'm sure WWE is looking to somebody to blame, and CM Punk could very well be that guy. I mean, it's pretty clear that they don't really see him as a top-tier guy. I mean, he is WWE champion, but he's almost a distant second to John Cena. WWE just released their first advertisement for WrestleMania 29 in the WWE magazine, and there was a picture of John Cena, a picture of Brock Lesnar, and a picture of The Rock. No CM Punk. I mean, that's telling right there. But I mean, it's not CM Punk's fault why the ratings are low. I mean, you could put the title back on John Cena, and a title change at this point I think would pop a rating, at least for 1 week, because there hasn't been a title change in a while. So when it does happen, it'll mean something. But I don't think the ratings will all of a sudden skyrocket because John Cena is WWE champion. So I don't really think the championship makes all that much of a difference. It's rather how the product is being presented to people, and that's really all there is to say about that. This is from Big Papa Zagon. What's your biggest fantasy match? Mine would definitely have to be Jake Roberts versus Edge. Just the build up to that match alone would be epic. Your thoughts? Please answer in video. Number one fantasy match for me would have to be Steve Austin versus Goldberg. That was a match we never got to see. The two biggest stars during their period on opposing sides. You had Steve Austin leading the Attitude Era. You had Goldberg on the undefeated streak, and he was the hottest star in WCW. He was the biggest star that WCW ever created on their own, not a guy that they signed from WWE. So that was a match, people were dreaming about at the time, who would win between Austin and Goldberg, and it just never came to be. Another match would be Steve Austin versus Hulk Hogan, arguably the two biggest superstars of all time. And the only time we got to see them in the ring was a tag match on Raw before WrestleMania 18. It was the NWO, Hogan, Hall, and Nash against Austin and The Rock. And we briefly saw Hogan and Austin in the ring together, but we never actually got to see that match. And a third fantasy match would be Hulk Hogan versus John Cena, just because John Cena's right up there, and he's often called the modern-day Hulk Hogan. So have Hulk Hogan versus John Cena, the battle, the two supermen. That's a perfect dream match right there. So those would be my top three. This is from the Inferno 1300. Hey, I just wanted to know, what are your thoughts on the Samoa Joe promo from Turning Point 2007? Was it planned, or was Joe breaking a few rules for doing it? Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe you're talking about the promo where Scott Hall was scheduled to be part of a match and he no-showed, and then Samoa Joe came out and ripped into Scott Hall. That wasn't something that Samoa Joe came out and just broke the script or whatever. That was Vince Russo being Vince Russo. Russo was trying to play up on a real-life situation. Scott Hall really no-showed, and Russo decided to turn it into some sort of storyline and have Samoa Joe go out there. It kind of reminded me of Bash at the Beach 2000. It was like a recreation of that. My thoughts on it, didn't really do anything for business, so I don't really see why they did it, but I can understand, Vince Russo just wanting to try to be controversial, but doing these work shoot promos, it didn't really matter one way or the other, I think. It was pretty clear to me at that point that TNA was fed up with Scott Hall and they were done with him. Of course, they brought him back January 4th, 2010 for the Impact on Mondays, so whatever. It just goes to show you could no-show, you could screw up, and TNA will bring you back, so whatever. Hey, Mr. F, congratulations on the 200th show. Hope for 200 more. Thank you for that. What do you think about the TNA product this year? For me, it's gone so far downhill, it's almost unwatchable with the Aces and Eights and the ongoing James Storm and Bobby Roode feud. Earlier this year, I really felt that TNA was starting to turn a corner. Once they got rid of Vince Russo, I think that the product started to improve a little bit, and it was just more enjoyable, and it wasn't all over the place. They were more focused. But in the last couple months, TNA's definitely had a setback, I think. The Aces and Eights storyline, I haven't been a big fan of that. I just think it's too cartoonish, and it reminds me too much of like a really bad early 90s WCW storyline with a distorted voice and the outfits. It's just too goofy for me. And James Storm and Bobby Roode, it's definitely gone on too long, and they should have had the story end when James Storm beat Bobby Roode at Lockdown, but they decided to change plans, and it just dragged on too long, and now it's not even for the title. They're just having a match. They have King Mo involved, which, I don't think that's going to make one difference, one extra pay-per-view buy for TNA. I just don't see wrestling fans being all that interested in King Mo at this point. So it's kind of flat, to be honest with you. I still think Bound for Glory has potential to be a great show. I've mentioned this in previous videos. The card's really strong. So we'll see what happens. Usually the Thursday Impact after Bound for Glory does their biggest rating of the year, one of their biggest ratings of the year. So that'll be an indication of just how well TNA did building up Bound for Glory. I'm a little concerned because the ratings for TNA have been way down the past few weeks, but we'll see. They really need to deliver a big show at Bound for Glory this Sunday, definitely. Hurricane Fan 21. Your thoughts on the Punk versus Vince fight before the crowd incident? Personally, one of my all-time top WWE moments. I mentioned this earlier with Vince. I thought that he went out there and he really went beyond the call of duty. He went out there and just got into it with CM Punk, and he jumped over the announce table onto Punk. I was a little bit concerned about Vince. I mean, I'm surprised because of the whole Jerry Lawler heart attack situation that Vince McMahon would go out there and do a physical match with CM Punk. It like I mentioned earlier, it really just goes to show how dedicated Vince is to getting people interested in the WWE product. And as I mentioned earlier, I thought that Raw this week was really good, and it bounced back from previous weeks. And I wouldn't say it's an all-time top moment. I would not go that far, but it was definitely a step in the right direction, I think. Hey Aaron, congrats on 200 episodes of your show. Someone has probably asked you this already, but what the hell happened to John Morrison? After he left WWE, there are a lot of rumors about him going to TNA, but I haven't heard from him since. John Morrison is just laying low right now. He's letting his body heal. He's actually been doing improv here in the Los Angeles area with a former NoDQ.com personality who shall remain nameless. But you know, he's just taking it easy for a while and just taking a break from wrestling. I think that there's a decent chance we'll see him back in WWE at some point. It's just a matter of when he feels he's ready, and I'm sure when he is ready to come back, they will take him back with open arms. I don't see him going to TNA. I think that he could still be a big player in WWE if and when he decides to come back. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. I mentioned Bound for Glory earlier. Make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ.com this weekend for TNA Bound for Glory coverage. We'll have results of the pay-per-view ongoing this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So tell a friend on Facebook or Twitter. Let them know about NoDQ&A video, and I'll see you this coming week for more.